before we continue is that we met outside just a second ago when I saw them for the first time in 30 years. And when I saw the movie here, the biggest one, I've never been so proud of those two actors. What they did for me, and quite often unnatural to them, what they had to do, is just unbelievable. But the relationship that those two created together is absolutely amazing. And seeing it back on the screen tonight, it was so real, those two. They were absolutely perfect. All the emotions were right, all the laughter was right, all the smiling, the little smoothing. It was really, really cool. And I had to tell them that how great they both were. I mean, I realize more now how great you guys were than at the time, I have to say, because I was too busy. But now I really think, oh shit, they're so good.
Obviously, the chemistry between the two of you is just incredible in this movie. What do you remember about the first time the two of you met, and was there like sort of an instant connection?
There was a folding chair. There was a paper plate.
Oh yeah, the paper plate. Yeah, the audition.
That was the steering wheel. I was handed it. I had Keanu, Jan, a carpeted floor, a folding chair, and a paper plate. All my acting classes just all came together at that point and went out the window. I mean, look, I was the new kid on the block, and I was, you know, it's nerve-wracking. I remember arriving there. I remember the car I drove. I remember what I was thinking. I remember the door I walked in. I remember the room was kind of dark. You guys had it dark. Why?
Was it?
Yeah. It just, you know, I was happy to be there. I was excited. I didn't think I'd be getting the job, but the only reason I got this job was because I was fought for. That's the only reason. Well, other people turned it down, and then
No.
Yes, there were other people ahead of me. I've met them.
Yeah, but they were not approved. No.
But you made them think they were going to have a job.
The moment I saw you, I knew that you would be the driver.
But you saw me after
believe you would be the driver.
1, 2, and 3 couldn't do it, and then you saw me in the dark room on the folding chair with the poor Keanu. He's like, this is what it was like working. Keanu was just like, who's going to shut up first? I'll be quiet. Go ahead. You speak.
Well, Keanu, the story is that you actually turned this movie down initially. So what were you resistant to when it was first offered to you, and what ultimately convinced you to do it?
I don't remember.
Was it me?
It had to be.
I don't know. Let's see. There's a bus and it can't go below 50 miles an hour. Yeah. But then I read the second draft, or the next draft, and I was like, oh yeah. It's fun. And then I was like, okay. Get into the training, and it could be fun. And I met this mad genius, and I was like, oh fuck, man, this is an actor, this is a director. This is a person with a vision. This is someone who has a passion for the story. And you know, I was, at the time, I guess what struck me was the cinematography from Die Hard. And whoever shot that, I was like, yeah. And, you know, I was just kind of coming into that, and so as it became from just the abstract kind of, here's the premise, which I was like, to then kind of seeing what was going after, which was this kind of action, which was the humor, which was this kind of heightened reality to me. But then when I met Jan, and and his passion for it, which was, I mean, you're even saying it here, like it's real, and I want to shoot it, and I want this to be. I was like, fuck yeah, and, you know, where's the technical advisor? I'm gonna start learning how to shoot guns again, and let's fucking be a SWAT dude, and I'm gonna save the world. You know, and then I met, you know, Sandra.
No, you meant like there were 3 others that you
I don't remember that. You know, I think
That is why I love him.
No, I think that's like probably some studio shenanigans. You know, right? Because like you were like, this is your first movie. They're not gonna let you fucking pick your actor.
Wait, was
like,
it the studio or were there others?
Studio shenanigans. The studio's like, you know, we like this person, and Jan probably went, yeah. And then kept auditioning people and kept like going into production and like probably got them to a place where it was like, oh yeah, oh my choice. Who's directing the movie?
All that matters is I was his choice.
I still remember when Keanu came in with his really long hair still at the time. And he had to play a cop, and the studio was looking at me and asking, like, what do you think about his hair? His hair looked pretty good. But I knew that there was going to be an issue. But I think you sensed it yourself, because like a week later you came back and his hair was totally short. And everybody was shocked. What happened to your hair?
I was playing a SWAT guy, man. I was like, I got a 1 cut on the side, I fade, and everyone just went like, what the fuck did you do? And like, you know, you're talking about like being like, I haven't gone through this experience. For me, it was like, you know, I heard these whispers, he's cut his hair. Why did he cut his hair? His hair is too short. It doesn't, what? And like, I felt this like kind of pervading, and I was just like, too late, man. Then they're like, you have to let your hair grow. You can't cut it again. You can't.
Actually, once you had your hair that short, you actually became him. You became the character. And that was so fantastic. And that's why I I definitely didn't want you to grow your hair. Because that would be, also makes you look too relaxed. I want you to more tense. I don't want to shake your hair all the time.
Well, I think one of the things that makes this movie great is that obviously you've got the 2 right people in the leads, but also the casting is so careful in all the supporting roles. I mean, like all the people on the bus, you know, I think a lot of directors' tendency would just be like, oh, those are just going to be random extras or something. But you clearly were very careful about how you cast each of those roles. Talk a little bit about your kind of approach going into casting that ensemble.
The one thing I know for sure that I felt it was absolutely necessary to find actors that you believe would ever have ridden on a bus or would drive regularly on a bus. And normally you don't find those, because most actors, especially well-known actors, they are driven. And so I really hated to have actors that really couldn't imagine how boring it can be to be on a bus, because they were sitting on a bus for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, and people who normally ride those buses, they know what it feels like, and they behave that way. They behave in the right way, and it didn't want actors to start acting like they were regular bus riders. So I spent a lot of time finding different people and different, like Alan Rock, and they all were really just right for that little part, for some lines or for some reaction I needed. But really I felt like these people really would ride buses. They would be, I totally believed them, and the audience should believe them. That was key too.
And what was the experience like actually being on this bus for 6 weeks? I mean, was it hot? Was it claustrophobic? Was it, you know, you're nodding, so yes.
There was a lot of carbon monoxide that sat in the room with us. It was what Jan was saying. You felt everyone, by the end, we were all, you know, in each other's business. And I mean, you had such absolutely different walks of life, but they all needed to be in that place to make the story believable. You know, Hawthorne, who was the bus driver, I mean, that face, and when he gets shot, and then Beth Grant, who we run over, she's amazing. She took it like a champ. I mean, okay, you gotta get out of the bus and let it run over you. Alan Ruck, you know, had we known we had Succession back there. But it was just, everyone was just so kind. Carlos, Simone, like we were just stuck on the bus.
You still remember all the names, that's so great.
I'm trying to think of like, that's the group that, you know, I can remember, but it was, again, I was just happy to be there.
Yeah, a fun bit of trivia is that the old guy on the bus was like a Disney animator who worked on Fantasia or something. It's crazy, yeah. There you go. Well, tell me a little bit about...
Wait, there wasn't just one bus.
Okay.
No, it was not really one bus. We had 11 buses.
There was 11 buses. The bus went on the 2 wheels, and then also we're dealing with like a master cinematographer here. So like the handrails were actually tracks for the stuff like
The
cameras, bungee cameras.
Yeah,
I counted 22 cameras once in the front, so I'd be here. Like, in front of us would be like 22 cameras. Like there'd be one camera for like Sandra's hands. There'd be like one camera from when I turned. There was like another camera here. There was cameras above here. There was cameras down there.
No cameras down there.
Well, tell me a little bit more about this, like logistically shooting these bus scenes. I mean, you're on like, I'm assuming, a closed section of
Oh, and he
freeway.
destroyed. How many camera bodies did you destroy?
How many cameras I destroyed?
Yeah.
Not just 5.
I'm sorry.
But like logistically, how do you even begin to mount something like this, where you've got a bus and, you know, all of those cars we're looking at, they're all yours. I mean,
All the cars on the freeway were all driven by, how you call those drivers, like specialty drivers that really are knowing well, basically they do always work on movies, so they're very, very disciplined in being at the right place all the time, so that suddenly the car that is in front of the bus is not changed from a white car into a red car. It's always, they all know their places. And in the morning, we have sessions where everybody is make drawings, and that car's there, and then he will pass, and then we will hit that car, and then you turn, and you try to miss it, but then you get also hit. I mean, those things we do every morning and make a plan for every scene. And with the buses, there are so many of them because, you know, when you're in a bus, inside, you can't, it would be too bright outside light-wise, so all the windows are filtered for the interior shots. When the cameras are outside, all those lenses, there's a different bus for filming from the outside in. There's another bus just to film her and him. And that was like where we built like a platform in front of her, and so we were basically like 3 feet away from her and could follow all the movement, all the responses in that particular bus. And then that goes on and on and on.
well, and Sandy, how often are you actually driving in this movie?
Do you honestly think they're gonna let me get behind the wheel? No, I mean, the fun part was that I was at the helm of the bus, but in the back there was someone driving, or on the roof someone was driving, and I was being careened into whatever Jan felt I needed to smash into that day. But never. I did get my Santa Monica bus driver's license. I did. It's not an easy vehicle to maneuver. It's not something that you know, no, they're not gonna let me drive. But you felt like it's actually better that way because you didn't know what was coming. and you felt the impact. And I think on the poster, you know, you don't really see me, but you see this light image of somebody behind the wheel, and it's one of our stunt guys in my dress and like a little wig. So.
Yeah, that wasn't a jump. That wasn't
It was a jump, yeah.
Well, Jan, you mentioned them doing a lot of their own stunts, and you're working on this movie with Gary Himes, who's a kind of legendary stunt coordinator. He did a lot of De Palma's movies. It's actually, his son is actually the baby in The Untouchables going down the thing. So talk a little bit about working with him, and you know, what were some of the more dangerous or hair-raising things that the two of you had to do on this movie?
Me?
Well, he had to do all the work.
And, yeah, Gary Himes is just amazing. He's a wonderful person, legendary stunt performer and choreographer, and I just feel really grateful. He really was, I mean, working with Jan and the whole idea of putting me wherever I could actually be. So there was another bus that was a little higher. So sitting on like a cart with lots of wires, hanging on, and just being able to actually be there. He was really supportive and just, yeah, it's fucking. And also, yeah, getting to drive Glenn Plummer with him, awesome Glenn Plummer, and yeah, ripping the door off. That was fun, kind of one of those days where they had the Tonka toys, the Matchbox cars, like on the 105, we filmed on the 105, and it was just like, you know, Gary's like, okay, and also Brian Smurs was working on that. But yeah, it was just like, okay, Keanu, this is your route, this is the color of the car, and this is what you're gonna do. And, but just where he was able to, my take on it is if I can be there, I want to be there because it's a connection in the storytelling to have the character there. You don't have to cut away in a different way, you know. And Gary Himes was just, he was like full go, be safe, but let's do it. And I really appreciate that.
And also, it was very safe. You knew that when he said it could be done, you could do it.
The thing when Jack was under the bus with that little cart thing with the little wheels, you know, at 25, 30 miles an hour, that gets a little sketchy. It's like, then they put like another wire on it because it was like the thing, and then they were like, maybe we don't put Keanu in there at 30 miles an hour. Hey Brian, but I got to do some of it, but it's. Wasn't there that day on the bus though when they were actually crashing through all the cars on the street?
Yeah.
And I remember like we were a little under-informed. like Jan did that thing, we were all on the bus and then we were driving down, it was like by San Diego or something, we were getting this up by the ocean, and we're driving and all of a sudden we're actually hitting cars, like boom, boom, and everyone on the bus lost their mind. People were like screaming, like ah, ah, ah.
The reactions were great.
Cool.
Well, Jan, I want to ask you about another sequence that got a huge reaction here in the audience tonight, which is the bus jump over the missing part of Freeway. That, as I understand it, was not something that was in the original script. It was actually your idea. Talk a little bit about conceptualizing that, and then how do you actually execute something like that?
I was actually driving on the freeway, and when I discovered actually that section missing in the freeway, what they were working still on, and I thought, God, that would be a fantastic, great ending of that, or at least the high point of that freeway sequence. And then I started to talk to different stunt people, and how can we do that? How fast do we have to go to reach a certain distance? And so we took all that weight out of the bus, make it as light as possible. We had a driver in who really was kind of not sitting in this chair, but was hanging in the chair because the landing could be very bad for you.
It hurt.
I love you on the bar. This might be bad for you. Maybe we don't tell them so we get reaction.
But so we had this one bus was made especially for that stunt, and when we actually were ready to shoot it and film it, and I was trying to really be really nice to the driver, to the stuntman, and I kept telling him it's really important that you go really at a good speed, otherwise you're never going to make it. And of course, and he did, oh yeah, I can do it. And so when the first time that we filmed it with a lot of cameras, several cameras down below, and the bus in the air, and then he got scared at the last moment on the ramp, and he started slowing down, and unfortunately, he didn't land on the other side, but he landed on 7 cameras right below, all placed to film him coming over. So that bus was destroyed. And we didn't, I said, don't tell the studio, don't sell the studio. And so we said, can we find another bus? And can you guys, the special effects construction guy, and maybe we can do it on a weekend, and we don't tell anybody we're going to do it. There's only like a very small crew, just a camera crew, and then maybe we can sneak it in on a Saturday afternoon. And which we did, and then the same guy said he wants to do it again, the same driver. And I said, are you really sure? I said, because the speed is important. And he said, yeah, I do it. And so he then went so fast, he went much further than we ever needed. And basically, on the other side there were cameras far away, but he didn't hit head on. But at least we had the shot.
It just dawned on me why you wanted me in the role. Because if you killed me, I wasn't a big actor at the time. It wouldn't matter. It just dawned on me. It would have been, actor dies in stunt in a Keanu Reeves movie. Makes perfect sense now.
Well, another scene that got a huge audience reaction is the scene at the end of the airport sequence where the two of you, are on the thing coming out from under the bus and slide across. Talk a little bit about what you remember about shooting that scene.
I remember it very well. See, I had this dress that was very light, and I had a bodysuit underneath, and when we started rehearsing, I noticed that the velocity of the air would shoot the skirt over my head, the bottom part. So Keanu's job was, for me, the most important thing, which is just put your hands in a way that the skirt doesn't fly over my head. So not only did he have to do the stunt to keep me safe, he had to keep my integrity intact. Keeping things that didn't need to be seen on a 17-foot screen hidden. So that's what I remember of that day.
Well, just, shooting at the airport in general, I was watching this tonight, I was thinking, this is a movie you could never make today. I mean, you're shooting at LAX with just all of this crazy stuff going on. I mean, how did you get the permission? What was that like?
I had seen that section of the extra runway they were building. It was also a brand new runway, the extended. And I knew when they were going to use it, when it was going to open. So I had to ask permission to do it way before, so that they can do the striping right and all the stuff right. And basically, by telling them, we're going to make it look so beautiful, make the airport look so beautiful, and it would be great for people watching a movie that LA has a great safe runways. And basically, that's how you do it. I mean, that's how you do
it. The whole movie, you know, has got it's got so much scale, it's so enormous, and yet it wasn't a huge budget movie for this kind of film. So, Jan, how did you maximize your resources and make this thing look so much bigger than it really was?
I think that had to do with the crew. I had worked on a lot of movies and a lot of action movies, big movies, and I really liked that crew, and I told them, listen, I mean, I have a small project, and but it needs a lot of work, and are you willing to do it for maybe less money as what you would normally get on a bigger movie? And almost the whole crew said yes, which was like amazing, because a lot of the scenes you need a big crew for. You know? A lot of people, a lot of cameras, a lot of drivers. And that, I mean, that's why we kept the budget small. I mean, we had $31 million, which right now you could not make it for $150 million. But that's the only way we could get it to make it affordable and to make it really get. But also, I think all those people in the crew, they were so great. They loved to work on it. They saw we did those special things they had never seen themselves before, and they loved all the crashes and those jumps that's pretty unusual, you know, that everybody can be so involved. And sometimes you ask them also when they're a little bored, say, oh, hey, Jan, come here. Can you operate this camera? And the moment you get them even more involved, they love that, you know. And I liked it too, because then I had another camera operator. So it was just, we had a fantastic crew and a fantastic cast. And I couldn't have wished better, ever.
Yeah, well, you can feel in this movie that it's one of those sort of like cinema alchemy things, where it's just the right person in every role, behind the camera, in front of the camera, and any one of them being different, it might not be the classic that it is. You know, I mean, if you don't have Dennis Hopper as the bad guy, and I know, Keanu, you've done River's Edge with him, and I'm just curious what your memories are of working with Hopper. I guess on this movie, because again, watching it with an audience tonight, every time he came on screen, everybody got so excited. He's just so much fun in this thing.
Yeah, he's brilliant, and he's so charismatic, and he's so committed, and
he's also a little nuts too.
Yeah, man. Thank God. And we say that like he's a little nuts, but he's a total fucking pro. You know, he's a total pro. You know, we had some ridiculous dialogue, and it was just awesome. And yeah, I mean, you worked with the Hopper too.
I did, yes.
How'd that go for you?
I was surprised at how, I don't like this word, but normal he was. I mean, he might have been weird to you guys, but he was very sweet to me. He loved his art. He loved talking about art. Collecting art, local artists. Like he was a man that just couldn't get enough. Like life was happening too fast, and he just wanted more and more and more from it. And look, again, I was in the company of such extraordinary people at such a early time in my career, and I got everything. I got everything under one umbrella. So to work with Dennis was, you know, you had to sort of shake it off and step into the role, but there were times when you sort of had to pause and his whole filmography would flash before your eyes. He was very normal and sweet, just very respectful and kind, but he was threatening to blow me up, so maybe he was trying to like, you know, are you okay?
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm gonna blow you up.
How you doing? It's sunny out.
Now, is it true that he wasn't even cast until you had already started shooting?
Yeah, I knew him actually because I know he's a photographer, as you know, and I knew his photographs that we met before. And initially it didn't occur to me that it could be him. And then once this started really working out, and we hadn't found anybody else, that thought, oh my God, Dennis should do it. And he did. He wanted it. They loved it. And it's so it's basically like a last-minute change with Risa Prela-Garcia, the casting director, and she helped to get him to do it. It was really great. I was really happy with that.
Now, I'm curious with a movie like this, how challenging the editorial process was, because just keeping the momentum going, but also thinking about the stuff on the bus. And when you are like sort of servicing so many different characters, and there's any number of different reaction shots you could get, and as Keanu says, you've got a gazillion cameras on there and all of this stuff. I mean, how challenging was the editorial process in this movie?
I like multiple cameras. I like a lot of cameras. But in the bus, actually not so much, because there was no space. You know, we had basically, I was operating most of the time those cameras. They were hanging from a bungee cord. Give me the fucking camera! Give me the fucking camera! I could have said that. Because everything had to go fast. So, but it is, sometimes you need cameras that you can hide, but quite often the intimate thing between them, it was always mostly with one or two cameras, because I had to be really close on the faces, and it had to be intimate, but the reactions for the people in the bus, they were all really specific. The lines, they were specific for a specific moment in the movie. So it was all really kind of worked out in advance a little bit, because once you start shooting, you have no time to change things. And we have to think, no, Alan, you're going to do this and this and this and that. And that is really great. I mean, they were so, amazed that nobody got sick in those, so the passenger side, because fast stops, go stop, and going through corners and fast turns, and getting hit by cars on the side. It's nobody actually, they behaved like as if they were just regular bus riders.
Now, the movie won a couple of Academy Awards for the sound, and rightfully so. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about your approach to the sound design and how that was used to kind of level up the intensity in the movie.
I think sound is one of the most important, next to film, the soundtrack and music are the most important part in filmmaking. I'm very special. I'm first of all very, very happy with Mark Mancini, the composer, which I think was brilliant. I found him and he was doing some parts of scores, little parts of other people's movies, and I listened to it and I told him about my movie, and I told him what I thought the music should be. And he totally fell in love with that idea, and basically, then we talked non-stop, all the time, what was good for this scene, what was good for that scene. He let me hear things, ideas for songs. And it's the same for soundtrack too. I really wanted the sound being immersing in the whole theater, that people would hear and feel almost through the sound the action that takes place on the screen. I wanted to physical feel it with a lot of bass speakers and with multiple tracks and sub-tracks, and we had, I think, like 800 different tracks at one point for some of the scenes, and all these things did work. Everything is used. Nothing is thrown away. I love making the same I did in Twister. It's like creating soundtracks is so fun. It's so really almost as fun as making a movie.
Now, Sandy and Keanu, I was wondering if you remember the first time you actually saw the finished film and what your reaction was.
I do. I had never been to, I guess maybe I was given an early cut for ADR or something like that. And I remember watching it, and we were just talking about this in the back, and that I saw it, and once it got to almost the very end when the subway's going through the tunnel before it all, breaks up, all of a sudden there were these really beautiful sketches of, like black and white sketches of the subway car and another nice, and I went, oh, that's interesting. Like I thought, he's a director, and I was like, oh, this is like almost like cartoon, like maybe it'll be a cartoon and then it comes out and then it's back to real life. And I thought I was dumb and didn't understand the premise of the movie. And then later on, I realized it was storyboards. I never asked, I never questioned it. And then when I saw it again, I was like, oh, okay, good job, Jan, that's it. You did a good job, Jan de Bont. But it was thrilling, and it was, again, you're just so excited to just be there. And, all these things came together, and I didn't hate what I saw of myself, which is, talk to any actor, we just hate. Well, maybe some people like looking at themselves, but I wasn't horribly embarrassed, which is a really good thing.
Well, this movie, I don't know if people remember, I mean, if you were there, it was such a phenomenon, like immediately. It's sort of the kind of film that I think everybody dreams of making, where it's a commercial success, it's an artistic success. The critics loved it. You won Academy Awards. I mean, how did this change your lives and careers? Or
I think it would make it harder, in a way, because you think then about the next one, and how can you improve that? Can you make it even more interesting and more exciting? And that's when I did Twister, and that was but you're making it way too hard on yourself, I think, also. I think it's exciting that you can do those things, and I like to invent things and create new ways of filming, but at one point you have to say, wait a second. I mean, maybe sometimes you have to go back to basics a little bit again, but I thought that once you make successful movies, it's really hard to keep going. Really hard to that the stress of making those movies is pretty big, because it's so intense, and there's so much action happening all the time, that as a director, you are completely exhausted for a long time after the movie's over. So it is. My life did change. I mean, you get more projects, which is a fantastic thing, of course. But I also find it really, hard on myself to really come up with new ideas that I like, and because I feel like when I interact, and I feel like I am the audience. What would I want to see now? If I was the audience in the theater, I want to see this and I want to see that. And there's a lot of different views, and I wanted to show them all, And that's the hard part, to show all those different feelings, what I think audience would like to see.
Keanu, did you find that working on this movie informed your approach going on to things like the Matrix movies and the John Wick movies? Because you talk about on this thing, doing everything for real, and then you obviously have taken that to like a whole new level, especially in the John Wick stuff. I mean, did that start for you here?
Most certainly, yeah. I mean, starting with Point Break, I guess that was my first action film. And then that kind of laid a little groundwork, and then working on Speed, I'd like to give a shout out to the SWAT technical director Randy Walker. He's helping me out. And yeah, so in terms of action, certainly, yeah.
Well, to wrap things up, I'm going to ask you a question.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
We gotta talk about Jeff Daniels.
Okay, let's talk about Jeff Daniels.
Yeah. Let's talk about Jeff Daniels. Yeah. He's awesome.
How can we forget that? Jeff is actually, well, you all know who Jeff Daniels is, but he's like such a serious, great a professional actor, and I thought I needed him to kind of, because he was a little older, a little more experienced, I thought it would be really great to have him play against Keanu and Sandra, because I knew he would support them. And that is so important that the three of them would work together. So ultimately, I ended up to be extremely happy with his performance. And there are some moments where, for instance, actually many moments, but when he is in that house and he realizes that the red light goes on and he can see in his eye that this is the end, and it is. But it is amazing that you can see that you can really perform in such a way that makes it audience makes it feel the same way.
You want to say anything extra about Jeff Daniels?
I don't know. I was just such a. At the time I was 30, but I was the whippersnapper, and Jeff is. It was just cool to have the scenes with him and to see his approach, his sense of humor, and the way that he embodied the character, and just there's one scene where we're on the elevator and Hopper's character's gonna shoot up, and we're in our SWAT gear. And so they were gonna have something below the shotgun blast through the ceiling of the elevator. Got our stuff on. He's like, we're staring, we gotta look at it. We're like looking for the bad guy. Where is he? And just before they're gonna do the thing, because they were gonna blast it up, he like looks at me and goes, "They always say that it's gonna be okay, but just look away." 2, 1. Guy gets up and he's like, "See." He's like, blood all the side of the thing. It's got blood. He's just been cut open. He was just like fucking just cool. See. And so Jeff Daniels was like, see. Just about like all. Like he was just like, yeah. What was that story? You told me a story that where he fucked with Woody Allen. Like, was it Broadway with Danny Rose? Is that it?
Purple Rose of Cairo.
Purple Rose of Cairo, where like he had to sing, and like he pretended not to be able to sing. Just to fuck with him. That's what you do when you're a genius. Anyway, sorry. And Joe Morton is just,
Yeah, I mean, the whole cat. It's just top to bottom, incredible movie. And I guess, my last question, which I'm sure you've been asked before, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Given the way audiences in the last few years have embraced movies like Maverick and XLF and stuff like that, has there ever been any talk of the three of you reuniting for Speed 3?
The geriatric version, yes. Won't be fast. But
Retirement.
lights will flash.
I think it would be a different movie for sure.
Well, it's
But
hard.
it would be great to work with them. That's the difference. It's absolutely true.
I was listening to Jan when he was talking about how, and I'd never even thought of this, how it became more difficult to make the movie you wanted to make after you have something like Speed, because you're like, this idea, and the audience wants this, and I want to give the audience, he's all in service to the audience. You know, and I'm sitting here going down memory lane, and I've forgotten things. I'm like, oh God, that's right. But that's all these things happen because the crazy man in the greenish jacket over there was like, he's so soft and gentle today, and I'm like, that's not the man I remember. But he's the man who put the energy and the idea together and knew what the audience wanted and demanded it from everyone, and everyone stepped up to play. So what would that movie be that would make Jan's brain and brilliance happy? It would require a lot from everybody, and I don't know if we're in an industry anymore that's willing to tolerate it and be brave enough to do it. Maybe I could be wrong, but you know, you just listen to him talk about why he did what he did and where the camera was, and I was such a novice. I didn't realize why things were there. Keanu remembers everything, every technical aspect, but it's just, if he can't make his brain for the audience, then he's failed, it felt like. And I go, wow, I don't know what we could do that would be good enough for the audience, you know?
Well, it would definitely be hard to improve upon. I mean, I think I speak for everybody when I say this was really one of the great movie-going nights of my life, and I really appreciate you all coming out.